Okay, so hello, my name is Mom, and so the point of this presentation or project is to look into different cultures and their languages and identify how communities have been resilient and make language a part of their identity. So first here I have with me.
My name is Katie. My name is Katie Rivas Sanchez. I'm a financial economics major, a data science minor, and I am Honduran and Mexican. I speak Spanish.
Perfect. So Katie, first language, which you answered. Second language, how were your languages impacted by colonization?
So I think, obviously, like all other countries, like we were colonized by Spain or Portugal, so our language changed from our natural languages, which are either Mayan or Nautil, to just Spanish. And I think they've been impacted by, so for like my Honduran side, I feel like there's a lot of influence in like mannerism and how people refer to others. So like there's more emphasis on like vos and like usted, which are typically like Spanish terms. For my Mexican side, I feel like it has been preserved differently. Like I feel like there has been more influence of the indigenous language within the Spanish language, like specifically within each state, like they all speak differently. There are words that are more affectionate and more that aren't translated as well because they have different roots than the Spaniard Spanish. I also think like culture is definitely affected. Like obviously like there are different like states, there are different like dialects, and I think that like connects to like a little bit of like classism. Like if you speak like more what would be considered country or like rancho, you're considered like more uneducated or like stupid or something like that, when in reality it's just like this is not even our natural language, right. So it doesn't affect your education, it's just how it reached you. I also think in like Honduras, like I feel like a way that the language has evolved is I feel like a lot of Hondurans and Central Americans in general, we speak very passionately. That's same for in Mexico, but I feel like it can sometimes be received as like aggressive or loud, when in reality we're just like very passionate loud. But yeah, I think that's how like our language was impacted by colonization.
Okay, thank you. And then how would you say your community has maintained or fought for certain cultural ways of speaking?
Yeah, so for Honduras specifically, there's a subculture in Honduras called Garifuna. So it's an Afro-Indigenous language that a lot of not a lot of Hondurans speak, but there is a large population of Hondurans and other Central Americans that speak that language, and it's kind of an African dialect. So I feel like they chose to preserve their country, their origins, through saving the language and kind of passing it down intergenerationally. There's not a lot of books that you can find on Garifuna, so it's really just up to the community to pass it down. When it comes to Mexico, I feel like, or with both of them even, like I feel like just education is super important to us. So like I have seen a lot of Hispanic and specifically Mexican people teaching a lot of courses on Nautil and other indigenous languages, which I feel like is our way of like reclaiming the language and being able to speak it again, because a lot of people don't. Just as like in America, like if you were to speak your native language, you were to be punished for it. So us relearning it and teaching others and actually translating it into the Spanish that we speak now. Like for example, there's a word. So there's a word I can give for an example is apapachar. The word means like cuddle or comfort, but it's not really like a Spanish word. It's more of a Mexican like indigenous Spanish word, because I forgot the origin, but it literally comes from a Nautil word. Right. And there are a lot of words in Spanish that come from Nautil, but they're just mixed with Spanish now. And also that leads me to the point of personalization. Like I feel like our way of getting reparations for having to be assimilated into speaking Spaniard Spanish is to personalize it with our own culture and our own meanings to the words that might not mean the same to other people. I can mostly speak on my Mexican side because majority of Hispanics here are Mexican, so I've grown up more with that culture, but I do have a little bit of sense of that Garifuna.
Okay, first question, what language do you speak?
I speak Somali.
How has your language been impacted by colonialization?
So Somalia was colonized by the Italians and the British, and when it was colonized, the schooling system was mainly spoken in English and Italian. So after colonization, Somalia struggled a lot with they didn't have a writing system, so it took them a long time to come up with a writing system on their own. So in the 1970s, they came up with a writing system, and this progressed a lot, and it created writers, poets, and a lot of people went to school, because my mom went to school because of it.
That's amazing. So how has your community maintained or fought for the language and writing system that you're talking about?
I think with the writing system, it's definitely helped Somalis get a voice and become resilient. I think it's also taught us like our dakhan, which means like culture. And I feel like Somalis are very like strong in our dakhan and our community and our faith. So I think because of the colonization, it drew Somalis to be stronger together, whether that's with tribes or with the schooling system or like things like that. So I think it's taught Somalis a lot to be open to community. And I feel like it's taught a lot of people about education and going to school and more opportunities abroad. Because when you're abroad, I feel like it's harder to find Somalis around you. You're surrounded by like English speaking people. So I think that it's definitely brought people together. Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Hi, my name is Sinian.
Then what language do you speak?
I speak Afano Romo.
Wonderful. And how would you say your language has been impacted by colonization?
I think one of my people are Oromo, so our people is in the southern part of Ethiopia within Oromia. And I think one of the things that's a colonial practice, you know, within all of like Western countries is that they will restrict even your ability to learn your language or to speak your language. Back home in Ethiopia, Afano Romo was banned for a period of time by Haile Selassie, and like you couldn't even speak it in schools. I remember my parents telling me they weren't even allowed to like speak it in schools. They were forced to learn Amharic, and if they were like speaking their own language, then they would get, you know, like hit with a ruler. And I think so now you can, if when you talk to people who are of like older generations or like my parents' age and above, anyone who really grew up in Ethiopia at that time, you'll notice that they all know how to speak Amharic. They all know speak Afaro still, but they also know Amharic because they were forced to learn it. So I think that when we see things that are like country has like, you know, a national language, or a country is like, we owe it, especially when they're made up of so many different ethnic groups. I think we owe it to kind of understand more about the people within there, because a lot of the time when a country of multiple ethnicities and multiple cultures is trying to unify everyone under one language or one cultural identity, it's often in an effort to repress a lot of people, to erase their cultural identity, their language. And I think language is the very first thing you always see. Like even the capital of Ethiopia, people know it to be Addis Ababa, which is Amharic, but the original name was Finfinne, which is an Oromo name. So you kind of see how like the names of things get changed. The names of land that was once other people's get changed to a specific language. These are all like colonial practices that I feel like I see a lot within my language. Even sometimes my parents will swap words that were like they knew as like a Afano Romo with like Amharic, because they were just like because they were so used to just having to say them in Amharic, and later they'll be like, oh wait, actually that's not Afano Romo, that's not what we say actually. So I think it's like it even permeates people's memory,
Right.
you know, of like their own language, and they don't even realize that they're replacing these words with the words of what language colonized them.
Right.
So I think that's one of the biggest ways I see that in my language.
How would you say you guys work to maintain or even revitalize your language? Is there any methods for that?
I think I see it a lot more within the diaspora. So a lot within the younger generations. There's this big, like, I was actually just reading someone's Substack about this one person in the community. She's in DC, Kulani. And it's basically there's like this real like revitalization of like Oromo culture, especially within the diaspora these days. Like it's very present. You see it's getting bigger and bigger. This like need to preserve our culture, to have people involve each other in our culture is very evolving. It's getting bigger every day. And I think language is one of the things that are at the forefront of a lot of youth mind, because it's the thing that connects you to your family. It's the thing that connects you to your community. Especially a lot of people in our community live in like multi-generational households, so they have people like their grandma, or they have people like their aunts from back home like living with them. And the only way that they can communicate with them, at least in the most effective way, is through Afan Oromo.
Right.
So there's more of a desire to like learn our language. There was actually just a class offered at the U to teach Afan Oromo. So I think because there's a building desire, I think that's like the first thing more than anything that needs to be like established is like the desire to even want to know your culture and like know your community. And I think that's one of the most like, that's something that has to like build more than anything before you even start trying to teach someone a language. It's like teach them about their culture, get them excited about their culture. And I think that that's something that's happening a lot more recently.